What is your but wait it gets worse story? I took my husband to the doctor because we thought he had a stroke. But wait it gets worse. They say yep stroke. Order a MRI. MRI shows brain tumors. But wait it gets worse. Husband has another seizure. Guess what emergency craniotomy to remove biggest tumor. Bam reveals several more tumors. But wait it gets worse. Brain tumors reveal stage 4 metastatic lung cancer diagnosis. Cannot cure. Can only hope call is doable. Terminal they say. Quality of life they say. He is now back in the hospital because inpatient is better than outpatient right now. That really sucks. Sorry you are having to go through all that. I work as a police and fire dispatcher. This in itself is stressful. In 2017, we were in the middle of a very busy evening with a major accident when I looked in our CAD computer-aided dispatch and saw registration information. I realized it was the car my mom had just bought my 17-year-old daughter. But wait, it gets worse. The accident was so bad. They were asking for multiple engines and rescues. I was working fire, then I noticed the traffic units are being dispatched. This only happens with great bodily harm or death. But I could not leave. Even though by now I had confirmed it was my family on scene. I had to get them help before I left work. The field units were barking out orders and demanding resource after resource. It took everything I had to sit there and get them what was needed. But wait, it gets worse. I was finally told I had to respond to the scene. My 68-year-old, mentally disabled adopted sister, she has the mentality of a 5-year-old child, was injured, hysterical, and they were unable to calm her down. And because my 17-year-old daughter was injured and refusing to be treated, she only wanted to leave and wait at the hospital to hear about her grandma, my mom, who the rescue units had scooped and ran with, meaning the paramedic felt she had a very slim chance of survival and she might make it out alive if she gets to the hospital quickly. My mom broke her both legs, both arms, all the fingers in her right hand, her pelvis, hip and back. She was in a drug-induced coma. She miraculously survived, but was bedridden for the rest of her life. She needed help with everything. She was still lucid. She just never walked again. Throughout the year, she contracted sepsis multiple times. She would refuse to go to the doctor or stay in a rehab facility. She would only go when she was unconscious or not lucid enough to say number. But wait, it gets worse. Back in 2016, I noticed a lump in my abdomen. I was told it was scar tissue. I went to the doctor over and over again, and their diagnosis ranged from a cyst to an infection for which I was prescribed antibiotics for. It would not stop growing. By 2018 it was the size of a cantaloupe. It finally ruptured at work. The bleeding was so bad I was soaked in blood from the waist down, and I passed out from the loss of blood. Finally my doctor decided to remove it. They left a huge gaping hole which had to be packed. It kept getting infected. No matter how many times I would clean it and how thorough I was told it was nothing to worry about. After a third massive infection, I scheduled an appointment and saw a nurse practitioner because the doctor was not available. It was at this appointment where I was asked, why are not you getting treatment for your cancer? I was told the mass was a cyst, but when it was tested further they found lymphoma. By the time I got to an oncologist, I had stage 4 cancer and 27 tumors. I had to be hospitalized because the infection was so bad. I needed 4th antibiotics. But wait, it gets worse. I had to move back in with my mom before all of this happened to pull our resources together to make ends meet. We had an agreement on rent. My mom had always been bad with money. Do not get me wrong. She was a great mom. Had no drug or gambling habit. She just loved to buy junk online. While I was hospitalized, I found out our house was in foreclosure. The mortgage company would not work with us. They wanted $30,000. I had to scramble to find us housing which was handicapped accessible. While being hospitalized, my mom got sepsis again. She was transported to the same hospital where I was admitted. This time she was so bad. Doctors recommended hospice. In this hospital, hospice was on the same floor as cancer patients. My mom died 400 feet from me, but I was not allowed in her room, and I was not allowed to say goodbye. She had contracted MRSA, and I was a patient with a very large open wound and a compromised immune system from the cancer. Too long didn't he read worked as a dispatcher. Had to dispatch for my own family who were in a bad car accident. My mom broke almost every bone in her body. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. We both ended up in the hospital, where I learned we were losing our house and my mom died right down the hall from my hospital room. But I was not allowed to say goodbye. Edit, yes, I'm in remission. Stage 4 cancer is no longer a death sentence. After our ice and our chop both chemotherapy both failed, I was sent to Denver Correctional Officer for CAR-T. They re-engineered my immune system to recognize cancer and kill it. Although this is not new, the drugs to prevent the seizures were still experimental, which is why the drug company paid all of my travel and lodging expenses. Edit, I seriously did not expect this to blow up, and I really did not post this for people to feel sorry for me. I appreciate it more than any of you will ever know. But I survived. I'm fine. I'm unbelievably happy, and I do not feel sorry for myself. I'm very proud that I have survived all of this, and I had amazing support from my family, friends, coworkers, and of course my little dog. I was very lucky. I did have to stop working temporarily after chemotherapy failed twice. My oncologist managed to get me into an experimental treatment in another state. Because it was experimental, the drug company paid all of my travel and lodging expenses for myself and my family. I had to live there for 2 months. I did not have an income, but I finally filed my taxes for the past 3 years. I do not know why I never filed them for just those 3 years. I received a little over 10k back. Then Wells Fargo randomly sent me a 6k check for a car they had repossessed in error from me when I was in my 20s. My previous job sent me a letter asking if I wanted to cash in a small retirement I had with them. I have excellent benefits with my current job, so I didn't need to save it, and so they sent me 7k. To organizations dedicated to helping those in public safety sent me $2,400 and my coworkers donated sick leave so I could keep my insurance. I would not get any money from my job, but my benefits were paid. My sister took my daughter and I in. We ended up buying a house together. Now I'm healthy, financially stable and very happy. Dude, I wish I could give you some of my life urgency, along with my luck. Things are gonna be better. I believe you have the power to go through it. Good luck. Stranger, I really was very lucky, and cancer was a blessing. Before, I was severely overweight. Thanks to my cancer and the treatments I lost hundreds of lbs, and I have kept it off. I feel so good now, and I feel like I have a new lease on life. I used to work as a bank teller in a really nice neighborhood. We didn't have any bulletproof glass or security because it was in a suburb. One day, I'm looking across the lobby at the glass doors leading to the parking lot when I see a man wearing a mask running towards the building. My heart immediately drops and I start saying, please be a joke. Please be a joke. Please be a really bad joke. It was not. The guy busts in, brandishes a gun and yells, everybody freeze. He sticks the gun in my face and tells me to give him the ducking money. But wait, it gets worse. You see, this was my half day. I had just gotten in, and I did not have any money. I tried to stutter out, you see, I just got here. I don't have my draw yet. I don't have, but he was not listening and was just yelling and agitated. There were 2 other tellers next to me, and they did have money. So I glance over thinking maybe if they give the guy money he will be happy and get the gun out to my face. But wait, it gets worse. The other tellers were frozen, shaking, and crying. Can't say I blame them. The only reason I wasn't a mess was because I was too focused on that gun, so they were no help at all. Luckily, they had their keys to their drawer, and I thought, duck it, better give this guy something. So I started pulling cash out of the other teller's drawer and stuffing it in the guy's duffel bag. It worked. He grabbed it and ran out. Everyone was shook up and crying, so the bank had a therapist come in that very afternoon. She comforted everyone and told us that statistically something like that would never happen to us again. But wait, it gets worse. 3 weeks later, the same guy came running back into the bank with a gun. Even though he wore a mask, we knew it was the same guy because he yelled, "Let us do it again." This time I had a cash drawer, so things went a lot smoother. but it stuck with my head for a very long time after. They didn't catch the guy until 2 years later. The balls on that robber. Glad you came out in one piece. Both times. 5 minutes from now. OP, but wait. It gets worse. Robber hat trick motherfucker. All I can hear is Charlie from ISIP yelling wild card bitches. A very kind, hard-working kid I worked with at a restaurant decided to join the Air Force because he was born and raised in the town we were working in and wanted to see the world. 8 weeks after he leaves for boot camp, he is in the restaurant visiting, and we are all asking where he is going to be stationed. He tells us they stationed him right here in the very place he was hoping to escape. That's disappointing. Not bad, but wait. We asked if he would want to come to a party we were having later that week, but he says he cannot because his brother, whom he loaned his car to while he was in boot camp, drove drunk one night and totaled his car, so he was without transportation. That's kinda shitty, but wait. We say at least he gets to have his beloved dog with him now, since he is not going overseas or across the country, right? He explains that his dog was with his brother during the accident. He survived the crash by jumping out the window, but in his panic, he ran back into the road and was hit and killed by another car. Holy shit. My friend's brother was killed by a drunk driver after finding out his grandfather died of a heart attack. But wait, it gets worse. On the way to the grandfather's funeral, his sister lay her head on her mom's shoulder and never woke up again. Another heart attack. That is so sad. This one finally made me quit my job and just not show up the next day. I worked at a Cracker Barrel that's been limping along for a while now. The pandemic and a recent change in general manager was definitely going to make things difficult and be a serious adjustment. Skip past all the BS where I was yelled at for having a slight panic when a coworker threw up. I have several family members and myself that would be at risk. The GM running out the back door after midnight to tell me to come back inside and squeegee a floor that would have dried, and consistently getting out well after midnight due to their inability to retain employees. X200B. Friday. I come in at 5:30 PM. I get in, start checking on trash cans, and then go to organize our to-go supply closet. GM walks by and asks me to jump into the dish room. Yes, we have a full room dedicated to it and help out. I go in and it is wall to wall dirty dishes, pots, and pans. I sigh and get at it. Then my earbuds die. I managed to very quickly clean all the plates that were sitting around and turned around to start working on the pans. Halfway through I have to turn around and start back on dishes. Then I cut my hand on a broken plate. Cool. Get a band-aid and manage to push through and get the room mostly cleared out. Then I look over at the grill line to see how busy we are and see 7 bus tubs full of dishes, pots, and pans. Sigh. 8:30 rolls around and one of the 2 other people in dish helping out says it is his time to leave. He was technically on the schedule for salads, but they played a game of musical positions to get him onto dish. Now there is me and one other person in there, a girl that's brand new, has never closed, and this is her 3rd shift. Because of what I was clocked in under, at about 9:30 I had to leave her in the dish room by herself to go do my own closing tasks and duties. I did not manage to actually finish and get back to dish until 11:30. Wall to wall. Dishes, pots, and pans. The manager, the grill cook, and myself all jump in, while the general manager is walking around doing inventory. Finally, we managed to get all the dishes clean, get the counters wiped down, and the floor swept. We closed at 10 PM, and finally got done at 1 AM. Manager says something into their radio. I ask what it was. GM says you did not mop the walk-in cooler yet. I'm not making you do that. When we got out I realize I had not eaten since noon. 1 AM. Friday night, and I'm on a 49cc scooter. No one is open. It takes me 45 minutes to get home, and it is about 30 degrees outside. Did I mention working in the dish room the whole day got my feet wet, soaked through to the socks. I turned my phone on to D&D and went to sleep when I got home. You are working your butt off there. When I was at university, I was taking a class which is usually split into two parts, Part A and Part B, that both run at the same time, but are taken by two different tutors who happen to be husband and wife. Most people take Part A and Part B. Because of how my course was structured, I only needed to take Part A, and was actually told I could not take Part B, because it clashed with another compulsory class. The Part B tutor Jane was mad. She kicked off and said I could not take Part A, and was furious about it, but there was not anything she could actually do. But wait, it gets worse. Then Jane starts slagging me off to other students in the class during her Part B lesson, saying I'm fat and ugly and stupid, etc. At one point, she told the class that I was ruining her life. I would never even spoken to her. But wait, it gets worse. Then she starts hanging out outside my building in her car with a camera sometimes. She started phoning my boyfriend and offering him a job. He worked as a freelancer. Pictures of me topless were sent to me on Facebook by a fake account, saying they would send them to everyone I know if I did not go back to my home country. I lived in the same country I was studying, and I would always live there, born there, and was white in a white country, so it was not a racist thing. Then a video taken through my bedroom window got posted on the internet of me having sex, and was sent on Facebook to a load of people I know. But wait, it gets worse. Then I get offered a job, and there is a specific person at the university who has to provide my academic reference to the employer. I give the employer those details, but she is just not providing the reference. I contact her over and over and over. Eventually the job offer is rescinded. Then the person who is supposed to be my reference tells me that Jane had insisted on writing my reference, and because Jane is more senior than her, she would allowed her to. Then I have to write an essay for my class, and I get told I need to come to campus for a meeting about misconduct, but they will not tell me anything else. I turn up, and the meeting is Jane and her friend, who does not work for the university, but is there to take minutes. I had a student representative with me that you are supposed to take. The meeting starts and Jane is just screaming at me and accusing me of cheating and demanding to know how I know things in my essay, and testing me on facts in it in an essay I would written months earlier. It is awful. The meeting eventually ends, and the student representative, who is been to hundreds of these, said she would never been to one like that. I was given 0 for my essay because they decided from the meeting that I would cheated. But wait, it gets worse. I have been accepted onto a scholarship to study abroad, but I needed to pass all of my exams. Jane contacted the people in charge of scholarship and told them I had failed my exam, so I could not go, but I had not. I would pass the exam. So they pulled my scholarship for no reason. So they reinstated my scholarship. Then I had an online exam, and I completed it, and then got a train ride home immediately afterwards. During the train ride I started getting email notification pinging through thanking me for my exam submission. I got about 20 after submitting my exam. I just thought it was a glitch and ignore it. I get my mark back a while later, and I have failed it. I checked back at the submission, and my submission had been overridden by someone else, and the submitted answers were complete gibberish and not what I would written at all. But wait, it gets worse. I then started getting really nervous and panicky, and after a few months, I started having full-blown seizures. So then I could not go on my scholarship because I would failed my exam and was in and out of hospital. Then someone from the university phoned my parents and told them I was trying to kill myself. I was not. Then someone from the university phoned my parents and told them I was dead. I obviously was not. I submitted a data request to the university which included the right to see every time my name or anything connected to me appeared in any of their documentation, emails, etc. It showed emails where Jane was referring to me by the name I use on Facebook, not my real name, and I do not use it anywhere other than Facebook. It also showed she would emailed my ex-boyfriend from high school who did not attend the university. Eventually, after almost 2 years, the university considered my complaint. They found that Jean had been viewing my Facebook multiple times every day from her work computer, viewed my personal information, my assignments, everything. They allowed me to retake the impacted classes again, but made me pay for them again, and Jane was asked to leave the university. Has Jane ever gave a reason for her actions? Or is this just a sadistic scenario? I guess Jane felt belittled by OP taking the husband's class, but not Jane's class. This probably feeds into thinking that OP was trying to cozy up with the husband, flirting with him, trying to get him to have an affair, and Jane went batshit off the rails. Crazy. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.